Nice to see everyone and happy winter solstice. We've made it to the darkest, longest night of the year. And I wanted to start seated in what I often refer to as double pigeon, but it's also referred to as something called fire log pose, which seems appropriate for the midwinter solstice. And what that means for those of you who can come into a tighter cross-legged position, you'll bring your knees a little bit closer together and you'll pick up your right ankle and put it atop your left knee. If that doesn't work, you can just sit cross-legged, or you can roll onto your back and do a figure four. Choose what feels best to you to start. And wherever you are, come back to the breath. And if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. And if you are seated and you want to bring your thumb and middle finger together on each hand, getting a little circle with the palms up, you can do that. And connect into your breath. Noticing as you breathe in the top of the breath. Pause at the top. And exhale, pause at the bottom. And for those who are still joining us, sit either cross-legged or in what we call fire log pose with one ankle above the knee. Some of you will enjoy a hip release there. Allowing yourself to soften in, to settle in. I often say for a long winter's nap, tonight's class is going to be a blend of a little bit of movement and yin and restorative. But allowing yourself here to come back into your body after what may have been a busy day of feeling rushed or distracted. Allowing mind, body, and spirit to land in this one spot on your mat. If you're lying on your back in figure four, notice your back on the floor and notice the floor supporting you. And if you're seated, notice your ischial spines or your sit bones connecting into the floor. And tilt your pelvic bowl forward and grow tall, reaching the crown of your head to the sky, like it's a tree trunk, perhaps a redwood tree reaching up towards the fog. And pouring the breath in, noticing the top and the bottom of the breath, the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. And I invite you to switch legs here. We'll just switch from one side to the other as we still continue to sit or lie, whichever you are doing. And we'll bring a hand to heart and another hand atop. Practicing this hand to heart. No words necessary. Checking in with the fact that you have a heart and that it feels however it feels tonight on this long winter's night. And for me, the invitation of the winter solstice is also the invitation that it's going to become steadily lighter, day by day by day, more sunlight. So we often celebrate the darkness, but it's also a celebration of the light returning, just beginning to return. There's a long process of it returning. And as we're at the end of the year and starting a new one, thinking about how you would like to approach that return of the light. What does that look like for you, for your heart, for your body, your mind, your spirit? What's your intention as you shift into a different phase of the sun and daylight? How might you like to show up for that? And as things come back into the light, what would you like to bring with you? And just letting that be seen, nothing you have to do today. Today is the day of rest, the most rest before that journey begins. And the winter solstice is also about the yin and the yang and the dark and the light. And these two polar opposites. And the idea that we need both, and we need different amounts of both at different seasons of our life. And this applies not just to the dark and the light, but the cold and the heat, and movement and rest, and noise and quiet. Noticing that without one, the other wouldn't be good. You need a little bit of both. And we need the contrast between the both. That's what being human in this world is that contrast. And we often talk about the dark and the light, and the dark side being the hidden or the negative side. But what if, even as humans, we need that dark side, the side that we judge or we don't like, or we hide in the dark? Could you welcome that part of you back in today as well? All the parts you judge and maybe don't treat so well. Setting an intention here with hand to heart to treat yourself well as you move back into the light. Bringing all of you, all of the desired and not so desired parts of you. Realizing they are all part of the whole, just as the daylight and the darkness are part of the whole. And that we need cycles of different amounts of each, neither better or worse. We appreciate the summer late sunlit evenings, in part because of the winter darker evenings, which many of us also appreciate. So taking 3 more breaths in whatever position you are in. And if you are lying down, coming back up to a seat, and if you're seated, stretch your legs long in front, untangling them, treating them well, letting your knees stretch out. You may want to bounce your knees for a moment. Find your sit bones, reconnect them into this earth, and reach your arms up towards the sky. Using your belly, wiggle your fingers lightly and allow yourself to fold forward, releasing your head and your back towards your shins, releasing any tension there. A huge breath in here and out. Letting your back melt. You can bend your elbows and rest your forearms on your thighs. Try to keep your eyes closed. And we'll slowly slide up our shins to our knees, to our thighs. And we're going to come to standing, which I don't usually do in my evening classes, but we're going to do the moon salutation, which actually helps you sleep. And it's this offering of movement before we lie down. And so you will come to stand on your mat, ideally facing the long edge, and perhaps facing the screen if you can. You can also do it the other way. You'll just be turning a little bit. You'll stand in the middle of the mat, lifting up all 10 toes. Find those 4 corners of your feet, root them into the earth, and lower your toes down, each one like a little root. And you'll reach your arms out and up towards the sky, bringing your palms together. Your pointer fingers are going to reach towards the sky like a steeple. And taking in a huge inhale, grow the fingers up towards the night sky. Lengthen both side bodies. Take in an inhale. And exhale, tip to the left. Your right side body will stretch. Use your belly to take good care of your back here. Another deep breath in, pouring the breath down the whole line of the right side body, bathing this crescent moon that you've made. Inhale, come back to center. And exhale, crescent moon to the opposite side. Tilt to the right side. Use your belly to protect your back here. And lengthen that left side body. Use the breath to lengthen it and open up your ribs, and you'll point that steeple towards the right. Envision yourself as a beautiful crescent moon. And exhale, let it out. One more big breath here. Drawing the breath up through your feet, the soles of your feet on the earth, all the way through your legs and your thighs, through your belly and out those fingertips. Exhale, coming back to center. You will open your arms out and open your feet out into what we call a 5-point star. And the sides of your feet are parallel to the front and back of the mat. Just taking a moment to enjoy the star. And you'll turn your left toes towards the front of the mat. If that's your angle, you can do the right too. And you'll shift your right hip back all the way. Reach your left fingers forward, and we're going to come into a triangle pose or trikonasana. You can bring your blocks with you. They will make this nice and nourishing and not too stressful on the body. You're going to reach that left hand down and reach your right arm up, coming into triangle or trikonasana. And just relax here, opening up your heart space. Envision the breath pouring in through the hand into the chest, moving the breath through you as you reach towards the sky. Three more breaths here. And though we move in the moon salutation, we don't move fast. We're going to bring the right arm down, and if you have two blocks, grab them. And you're going to shift towards the front of the mat into pyramid pose. Your back foot will hop out. It's about a foot runway between your feet. They'll be a little narrower. Breathing into the back of the left leg. Your back is flat. Envision yourself melting here, melting the tension, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Use the blocks to help support you. You can also use a chair or a couch arm. That can work. If you're super flexy, maybe you can fold forward, but nothing pressured here. Softening and melting. You're going to bend both knees and coming down into a high lunge here, Anjaneyasana. Your back knee is going to be on the earth. You can keep the blocks here and use the blocks to reach the crown of your head towards the sky. Or my offering would be to bring your hands to heart here. And if you can close your eyes, do that. Melting here into the floor, melting the tension in the right hip, breathing into it slowly and out. Not overdoing it, letting the stretch, less is more. 3 more breaths here. If you need a blanket for your back knee, gift your back knee that blanket, gift yourself that blanket. You won't relax if your knee is cranky. 3 more breaths. Long and slow. Support yourself well. And you'll curl your back toes under. Use the blocks if you have them. You're going to turn towards the side of your mat and you're going to bend the left knee, picking up the right toes. The right leg is going to be straight. And you'll enjoy the back of that right leg. You can wiggle your right toes. Some of you might want to come to hand to heart here. Others of you will just hang on to the blocks and maybe a hand to your hip and just enjoy it. Pour the breath in it. Anything that doesn't work for you, just opt out. And as you move through this moon salutation, letting yourself close eyes when it feels good, softening in. We're going to take our blocks with us, coming towards the center. Your toes will reach outward towards the second position. Essentially, we're going to come up into goddess pose. Your hips will sink down. Your knees are going to be over your ankles, not extending too much, keeping it all nice and comfortable. If anyone would like to lift one heel, you can do that, and the other heel, and maybe even both. You can keep your hands on your hips and lower them down. You'll bring your hands to the blocks, bringing your feet in a little bit. We're going to come into a yogi squat here. You can use the blocks. You can put a block underneath you. You can bring your elbows to your knees and your thumbs right into your sternum. Breathing into it. Letting the breath pour through into every nook and cranny. Refilling it with oxygen. And as you maybe close your eyes here, thinking again about as that light is coming back into the world, more light, who would you like to be? What would you like to bring back into the light? And if there are any parts of you that you have been hard on, judgmental about, what if they were welcome to? Realizing that yin and yang and all of it needs to come to. And we'll slowly lift up, use the blocks, release your head towards the floor, releasing everything. A huge breath here in forward fold. You can even put your hands on the blocks, drop your head towards the floor, generous bend in the knees. Allow yourself to sway here, letting the blood flow shift. You may want to lift up all 10 toes and lower them down. And you will walk the blocks over to the right. Spread your legs wide. Once again, bend the right knee straight, the left, coming into that half knee stretch. The toes will reach towards, the left toes will reach towards the sky. You can flex your ankle if you want, or point it. Just noticing how it feels. Letting the breath pour into you. And we'll bring the blocks around towards the back of the mat, coming into that low lunge. Be kind to your back knee. Reach the crown of your head towards the moon. And let the left hip flexor soften and release. We'll be here 5 more breaths. You can bring your hands to heart. That feels good, or hands to the block. Support yourself well here. Support yourself such that the hip flexor can soften. Pour the breath into it. You'll use the blocks to straighten the back knee and lift up into pyramid pose on this side, keeping the blocks or that couch arm nearby. Tack the right hip back, the left hip a little bit forward. If you can keep your back flat and your head parallel, crown of the head shining forward and heart shining forward, try that. You can use a stool, a chair, Bringing the block in your right hand to the inner side of the right foot. You'll hop your back foot back a little bit and the toes will come out towards the side of the mat. Hand will come to the block and you'll reach up into Trikonasana or triangle pose. And let the breath pour through you here. And when your triangle feels complete, rise up, turn both feet parallel to the side of the mat, and you'll be back in star pose. You'll heel toe your feet together. Bring your arms back to the steeple arms. Tilt to the right, crescent moon once again. Breathing in and out. Inhale, come back to center and tip the opposite side. Use your belly here to be kind to your back. And we'll come back to center, opening your arms out and lowering them down. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears, drop your occiput into the shoulders, pinching it tight, tight, tight. And exhale, release, and melt your hands towards the floor. Palms will open towards the front. Tadasana or mountain pose. Envisioning yourself as a beautiful snow-covered mountain on a moonlit night. Coming back to the breath. We will come down to hands and knees. We're going to come into what we call melting heart pose. And melting heart pose is also sometimes called puppy pose. So you will bring your hands a little bit farther forward, bend your elbows and lower your forehead towards the floor. You'll notice your heart melts towards the floor. You may want to put a block under your head and allow your forehead to come down towards the floor. And enjoy the release in the shoulders. Once again, don't overdo it. And here you'll notice that your third eye has some lovely pressure. You can massage the worry muscles, the thinking muscles on your forehead. Many of us do a lot of thinking. And enjoying this sensation of the heart melting towards the floor. Notice how the breath feels here, pouring the breath in and out. Two more breaths here. You'll come back up to hands and knees, widen your knees and slide into child's pose. Some of you may want a bolster that you can give a nice lovely hug to, or some of you may just want to lower your forehead back to the floor with the knees apart. Some of you I know will need a blanket between your thighs and your calves. Treat yourself well here. Allow your lower back and your hips to melt towards the floor here. Remembering to take full breaths. Using the breath to refill and restore. The solstice is about renewal.
And as more daylight is coming, we are renewing ourselves with the rest, the quiet, the darkness, the stillness. And slowly shifting into a different season. Perhaps a metaphor for change in all things. Being mindful and intentional and not rushing it. 1% change each day or 5% change each day, just like the sun and the moon. Notice as you're here, your back soften. Three more breaths. Worry thoughts are coming, or urgency thoughts, or busy thoughts. Come back to your body, come back to your heart space, perhaps massage your worry thinking muscles. Letting them know they are okay to relax. And coming back to hands and knees, we're going to come into thread the needle and open up the shoulders. You'll reach your right arm up towards the sky. Thread it between the left hand and the left knee and gently place your right ear on the floor, side of the head. Palm of the right hand's going to reach towards the sky, and your left arm will reach far forward. And allow your hips to relax back. Breathing into all those nooks and crannies that are exposed here. Notice if you need to adjust something to be kind to yourself. You can keep your left hand by your face if that feels better. You can put your right ear on a block if that feels better. Allowing yourself to melt here into the earth in a different way. Noticing the weight of your head on the floor, the weight of your arm on the floor. Sending breath into the right shoulder, waist area. If you can, keep your eyes closed, let them soften. Tuning out the noise, tuning out the light so you can reconnect into your body. That's the beauty of the dark still ahead, is that time to renew so that we can pop up out of the earth just like the spring flowers. Bring your left hand back by your face if it's not there already. You'll press into your left hand, untangle your right arm, reaching it towards the sky kindly. Roll your wrist out and come back down to hands and knees. Take a minute to find your knees, find your center. And when you feel ready, reach your left hand up towards the sky, thread it between the right hand and right knee, and lower that left ear gracefully to the floor. Your left palm will reach towards the sky, and you can extend your right palm, hand long, in front, or keep it by your face. You can also put a block under your ear if that would feel good. This side might look different than the other. Not an issue. Or the breath in. Envision yourself melting into the floor here, softening. Three more breaths on this side. And when you feel complete, bring your right hand by your face, untangle. Reach the left hand to the sky, roll the wrist, being ever so kind. Coming back to hands and knees. Take a few cat cows, reach the crown of your head towards the sky and your sit bones towards the sky. This is a bit of the yin and yang. Enjoy the arch in your belly, stretch in the belly, the arch in the spine. Exhale, reach your cat as high up as you can, moving slow and enjoying the deliciousness of each little muscle fiber stretching. Inhale for cow. Reach the crown of your head and the sit bones towards the sky. And exhale into cat. Noticing that our spine needs both. And in fact, our bodies need both rest and movement, busy and quiet, systole and diastole. And notice that on this darkest night of the year, it's still in balance. And many of us sometimes get a little out of balance. And so realizing that you can have an edge where you don't go farther. Coming back to tabletop, you'll sweep your feet around, coming to sit on your rear. Spread your legs long and move yourself to the middle of the mat if you happen to not be there. And you'll bring your arms parallel to your legs and lower yourself down, rolling and unrolling slowly, gracefully towards the floor. And pause when you arrive. Remelt into the floor. Notice how it feels. Taking a moment, if anything is tight or gripping, not releasing, and send the breath and release it, melt it into the floor. Bend your knees, bring your heels towards you. And you'll bring your knees together and your feet apart towards the outer edge of the mat. Raise your arms over your head into a cactus shape. And if anything happens to be in the way, just move it. And you'll drop your knees to the right and enjoy it. Relaxing there for a moment. Noticing how it feels. Eyes can be closed. If you wish to gaze to the left and it's okay for your duck, feel free. Thinking of yourself a little bit as the caterpillar that's metamorphosing into a butterfly, and it melts as it does. Letting yourself melt and soften rather than pushing through, softening into the shifts. Letting the darkness hold you, support you while you do this melting. Your gaze is to the left, bring it back to center. And bring your knees back to center. Re-flatten your sacrum on the floor. Untangle your shoulders if they are tangled. Huge breath in. And you'll let your knees fall to the left. Your right knee will reach towards the front left corner of the mat. Arms still in a cactus shape, if that works for your arms. If they need to be in a T or by your side, feel free to do that. Long, easy breaths. Eyes closed if you're comfortable. Your gaze can be to the right if that's good for your neck. Letting your body melt, soften, not having to hold anything tight. Gazes to the right, bring it back to center. Slowly bring your knees back to center. And you'll lower your arms by your side gently and slowly also. We're going to lift up into hopefully a supported bridge for all of you. You can use a block underneath your hips if you have one. You can use a pillow underneath your hips if you have one, a bolster underneath your hips if you have one. You'll bring your heels a little bit closer to your rear end. You'll lift your hips up and slide the block underneath the sacrum. So the sacrum lands flat on the block. I don't recommend the highest setting if you're using a block, on the medium setting or the lowest setting. Or bring a bolster underneath. Your toes should be facing the front of the mat, and your knees should not be tightly scrunched. If they are, wiggle your toes a little farther forward. And breathe here. Allow the blood flow to shift towards your head. Refilling. We need to replete and rest in order to renew. And while we're here doing this repleting and resting, it's often easier to think about who you might want to be on the other side. What would you like to appear as in your renewal? When the light returns, what would you like to see? And remembering it's slow. The summer solstice is 6 months from now. We have a long time of increasing light. There's no rush, no urgency. If your block's on the medium setting, lower it to the lowest setting. And if it would feel good to your back, you'll know instantly if it doesn't. You can extend one leg in front long and the other in front to get a nice front body psoas stretch and soften in. Notice if that feels good. And if it does, feel free to stay for a little bit. Come back to the breath. Pour the breath into your chest, your belly, all the way to your toes. Your legs are extended, bend one knee and then the other, coming back to supported bridge. If you don't have a block, a bolster, a pillow, or a blanket to have your hips under, be sure you've lowered down and you're not staying in an unsupported bridge. And allow yourselves to rest here a little longer. No scarcity of time to refill. Plenty of time. Remembering that this rest and refilling is essential. It's energizing the batteries. Slowly lift up your hips and take out the block, bolster, pillow, blanket, whatever you have underneath you, and let your sacrum land on the floor. And take your time here, plenty of time to let your back flatten and melt back into the earth. Bring both knees into your chest. Your hands will come to your shins and have a little rock. Massage your back side to side. Coming to stillness. Release your hands from your shins. Lower your feet to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining butterfly. Some of you know you need blocks under your knees. Support yourself well here. You can also put a pillow under your knees. Coming into reclining butterfly. Bringing a hand to heart, hand to belly to begin. And allow yourself to melt back in. Noticing your chest and belly rise with the inhale. And fall with the exhale. You can stay with a hand on heart, hand on belly. You might want to try 2 hands on belly with a diamond over the navel. Or you may want to reach your arms above you into a cactus shape and melt into the earth that way. See what feels best to you. Your hands are above you in a cactus shape, bringing them back by your sides. And if they're on hand to heart or hand to belly, bringing them back to your sides, you'll bring them to the outer edges of your thighs and draw your knees together gently. We're going to come into Shavasana, or final resting pose. And I encourage you to put something under your knees, a pillow, bolster, blanket. You may even want to put a little blanket under the back, your occiput. Allowing yourself to settle in here. Letting your feet fall to the outer edges of the mat. And your palms will face towards the sky about 6 inches from your waist. And taking a moment here to notice all the parts of you that are touching the earth. Perhaps your heels, perhaps your sacrum, backs of the hands, coming up the arms, perhaps the scapula, the occiput. Notice what's being held by the earth. Envisioning yourself being held. Coming back to that breath, pouring it in through your nose into your chest, down into your belly, letting it all seep all the way into the toes. And exhale, releasing long and slow, melting into the floor. Surrendering to the earth, letting the earth hold you, letting go of control of the breath. And allowing yourself to soften in and relax completely. A chance to rest, restore, refill, renew. Integrating this sense of calm, letting it into every cell in your body, into your nervous system. You feel the urge to move, and settle right back in.
Gently come back to your breath. Slowly lengthen the inhale and the exhale. Notice what happens when you do. Wiggling your toes and your fingers. And taking in a bigger inhale and stretching in whatever way feels good to you. And when it feels right, roll to one side and pause. Pausing in that cocoon-like position. Fetal position, which is what it's like here in the middle of winter. In that spot where you're beginning to unfold and beginning to change with the light. Each day, more and more light, coming back into the light. Here in this cocoon, thinking about what you'd like to bring with you, what you would like to bring more of into that light. And taking a moment to consider all of the parts of you that might like to come along. Maybe those parts even that you consider dark, maybe there's a light component to them. Or even seasons of your life that feel dark. Maybe you can bring those with you too. And when you feel ready, pressing up to a comfortable seat where we began. And you can come into a cross-legged position. If that feels comfortable, you can come back into that fire log pose. For those of you in cold climates, that might feel good. And bringing your hands to your knees, turning your palms up, bringing your thumb and middle finger together, pressing the finger pads together. Notice your sit bones, reconnect them into the earth, grow your spine tall, and take in a big drink of breath. Reach the crown of the head to the sky. And exhale, let it out. We're going to take a few breaths here. We call pranayama or breath work is important in renewing. And the breath that we're going to do is called samavriti, which is equal parts breath. And the invitation here is to breathe fully. Most of us don't breathe fully most of the time. So we'll breathe in and notice the top of the breath, like a sparkle of light. And breathe out, envisioning the breath pouring out all the way to another sparkle of light, perhaps a star. Pausing at that star and breathing in all the way back to the other sparkle of light. Pausing when you get there and breathing out through your mouth, the same pace and pressure. Do 3 more on your own. Breathing in from star and out to the other star. Perhaps envisioning the path of the breath as a crescent moon. Pausing at one star and breathing in. And out. And when you feel complete, coming back to your normal breath. And bring a hand to heart and another hand to top. And just checking in with your heart space now. Noticing how you feel, how your heart feels, how your nervous system feels. Taking a moment here to send yourself good wishes, kindness, and compassion. And sending everyone else here good wishes, kindness, and compassion. And sending good wishes, kindness, and compassion out into the universe, into the ethos, into the starry night, wherever it may land, wherever it may be needed. And bringing your attention back to your palms, the palm on your chest with the heart underneath, which you may or may not feel, but you know it's there. And the palm on top of the dorsal surface of the other hand, rubbing that skin to skin, enjoying the sense of touch. Pressing your hands into your heart space gently, taking in an inhale, having the breath kiss the palm essentially underneath that heart space. And exhaling, letting it out. May we all be loved. May we all be safe. May we all be free from harm. The light in me honors and reflects the light in each and every one of you. Namaste.